So before The Lion King, we had the live-action adaptation of this particular movie. And how does it compare to the original? Let's get into it. So Aladdin is the newest live-action Disney remake that came to us, and is the second of 4 live-action Disney films coming out this year, not counting Descendants 3, by the way. This is a remake of the 1992 animated, well-loved classic, and this adaptation is live-action, of course, and it is directed by Ritchie, written by John August and Guy Ritchie, and stars Will Smith, newcomer Mina Massoud, Naomi Scott, Marc Kazari, Navid Nagaban, Nazir Padre, Billy Madison, and Alan Tudyk. And basically the story of this live-action remake is basically the same, just with some new things added here. We have some new characters in this movie in the case of Dahlia, who's a bodyguard for Jasmine, Razal, the royal captain, and Prince Anders and Hakim. And Aladdin is played by newcomer and Canadian actor Mina Massoud. He is a poor street rat, stealing food and stuff, trying to survive in the city of Agrabah with his monkey Abu. He runs into Princess Jasmine, played by Naomi Scott, and who is tired and upset of a law that requires her to marry a prince instead of the one she chooses to be with. Meanwhile, Jafar is tired of being second guessed, and he seeks to get this lamp from the Cave of Wonders with Aladdin's help so that he can become Sultan and rule Agrabah. Once trapped in the Cave of Wonders, he rubs the lamp and awakens a wisecracking Genie, played by Will Smith, and he gives Aladdin the decision to grant only 3 wishes, in which he chooses to make him a prince, impress Princess Jasmine, and free the Genie, and he, along with Princess Jasmine, Sultan, Genie, and Dahlia, must stop Jafar and his evil plan before he makes everyone's day a living hell in Agrabah. Aladdin 2019, go ahead and be sure to tell me your thoughts on this live-action Aladdin below. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Does it pale in comparison to the original? Where do you rank this in the live-action Disney remakes that we've gotten so far? Be sure to follow all my social media links down below, and be sure to like this video, share this video, comment, retweet, and subscribe to the channel for more Epictasticness. Now let's get into Aladdin 2019. Now going into this new Aladdin movie, I love and I cherish and respect the original 1992 animated classic with the late Robin Williams. I think the original Aladdin still to this day is a masterpiece and very well done, and one of Disney's best animated films, and it's actually one of my favorite films since I've grown up with the film as a young kid. And it's one of the best animated films of all time, as well as one of the best musicals of all time. And every single line of dialogue or song or moment is very memorable. I even grew up watching the original TV series based around the film back when it was Toon Disney before it became Disney XD. And the 2 direct-to-video sequels, The Return of Jafar and Aladdin and the King of Thieves, I don't really care for that much. They're not terrible films, but they're not all that great. There are some nice moments and some nice animation in both musical numbers in both films, but not even Robin Williams, Dan Castellaneta, or the animated voice cast can save those. But when I heard about a live-action remake when it was announced back in 2016, I wasn't very happy, and I was hesitant on it because when it comes to Disney and their live-action remakes, they are pretty hit and miss. They can be either really great, like Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl, the live-action remake of 101 Dalmatians, Alice in Wonderland, The Jungle Book, directed by Jon Favreau, who directed The Lion King, which I will review that once I watch it. The live-action remake of Pete's Dragon, the live-action remake of Dumbo, I think is pretty underrated and definitely one of the more underrated overlooked films of the year. Then Disney has mixed at best remakes like The Haunted Mansion and the 2017 remake of Beauty and the Beast, which I loved at first, but now looking back at it, I still pretty much enjoy it, but the original 1991 film is still the better movie, and it still has a lot of good things in it, even if it has its flaws. And Cinderella, I ended up hating when I first saw it, but over time I've grown in appreciation towards the live-action Cinderella movie with Lily James. And I absolutely despise and I hate Maleficent. I hate the Maleficent movie. That's probably the only live-action Disney remake that I truly freaking hate. Not even Elle Fanning or Angelina Jolie, as beautiful, appealing, attractive, and sexy as they are, they can't even save that movie. And The sequel, it looks a little better, but it still looks like it could be worse. So there was a lot of pressure riding around on this remake concerning the way it would turn out. Even most of the casting drew criticism from a lot of people. Disney wanted to be more diverse with the casting. Even the directing choice, Guy Ritchie, wasn't well taken. And when it comes to Guy Ritchie, I don't mind his movies, but the problem that he has with his movies is that he has a hard time keeping the camera still in his action scenes. And his filmography is quite insane. I like the first Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows is an okay movie at best, but it becomes boring after a while. But once it gets back into it, it's a bit of a time waster. I'm curious to see how Sherlock Holmes 3 will work out, even though he ain't directing it. Rock and Roller was not a bad movie by any means necessary. In fact, it was actually quite good up until the ending, which I didn't care for. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. was pretty underrated, and it's one of my favorites of 2015. And as far as King Arthur Legend of the Sword goes, I still really like that one. And I know a lot of people just didn't like the 2017 King Arthur movie. But I overall like it despite the lyric flaws. But when trailers and stuff started coming out, it actually looked like it could be good. But I still wasn't very sold on it, especially the one trailer where everyone just went nuts over the Will Smith Genie, Blue Genie, to the point where people were making memes about that. And I saw some early reactions from audiences and they said it was pretty good. But I was still doubting the movie until I watched it back in May, and I must say it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be, but this does fall into the category of live action Disney remakes where it's a bit of a mixed bag, and it's a mixed bag of popcorn and gummy worms and shrimp for me. There are some good things here, and there are some things that are in between, and there are some stuff that I just don't like. So no, I don't hate this movie. I think this is a pretty okay at best. It's fine, serviceable, but at the same time, it feels very unnecessary to remake a classic like Aladdin. Because with remakes, sometimes you can't beat the original until you really try and you work hard. But if you're not trying, you're going to end up with pretty bad results. So, let's get into the movie. How is all things? Now, the first positive I do have to give to Aladdin is that they managed to keep all the classical musical numbers from the original movie, including Friend Like Me and Prince Ali. But you also have some new songs written for the film, and there are a lot of moments where the choreography is very well done. And there are some moments where I feel like the music does go into a different territory, especially when it comes to the Genie. The acting in the movie is actually really great. Mina Masood was really great as Aladdin. He fits the character pretty well, and the way he played the character was good, and everything that was needed for the character. He was amazing. He's likable. He's basically what you expect Aladdin to be, and his musical numbers were pretty phenomenal as well. Naomi Scott as Princess Jasmine was really great, and she has a great musical number that was written exclusively for the film by the songwriters of La La Land. And Mina Masood and Naomi Scott, they have a pretty great chemistry as well as Aladdin and Princess Jasmine. They're not better than Scott Wainer or Linda Larkin from the original, but they're still great on their own terms. But Naomi Scott as Jasmine, she was amazing. I thought she really fit the role pretty well, and she's came a long way since Disney Channel's Lemonade Mouth, which was the first movie she was in. So Power Rangers 2017 was not her first movie, and the less I say about Lemonade Mouth, the better. Now, Will Smith is the Genie. He was great. And I was one of the few people who was supporting Will Smith as the character, but I was a little worried going into it he would be too much like Robin Williams and basically turn the Genie into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air version of the Genie. But luckily he didn't do that here. He was great. He doesn't try to be better than Robin Williams, which is something I appreciate. He wasn't a complete carbon copy of Robin Williams, and they humanized him too, which I also didn't mind. When he has to do the musical numbers, he's pretty good, but the scenes where he's in human form as the Genie, they are some of the best parts of the movie. And the CGI on Will Smith when he's blue is somewhat decent, but it should have just been human form for the entire film. And I do like the tribute for Robin Williams that they gave to him at the end of credits. He not only pays homage to Robin Williams in some parts, but he mostly does his own interpretation 100% through. And Will Smith is one of my favorite actors, and this is one of my favorite performances of him. The rest of the cast, including Navi Nakaban as the Sultan, Nassim Pedra as Dahlia, which is also a new character, and Billy Madison as the new character Prince Anders, Numan Akkar as Hakim, and Robbie Haynes as Razzle were really great as well. And it was nice to see some new characters like Dahlia and Prince Anders that were created for this version. The world and the production design by Game of Thrones production designer Gemma Jackson was really amazing. Everything is bright, it's colorful, it's very entertaining to see. I think the costume design by Michael Wilkinson is amazingly well done. And some of the CGI effects look really entertaining as well. And the cinematography is really amazingly well done. It's a very beautiful movie to look at. And the musical numbers are still pretty good. There are some moments where they could be a little off at times, but they're still really great. And my favorite song in this entire movie was the new song, Speechless. I love Friend Like Me, and I love A Whole New World and the Prince Ali song, but Speechless, Naomi Scott sung the heck out of that song, even in the video for that compromises with the song is really good. But the biggest surprise for me was Guy Ritchie's direction. I thought it was pretty entertaining to see how he did a good job here. Guy Ritchie as director of this new Aladdin, he doesn't do what he usually does here, despite a few slow motion shots. Guy Ritchie's direction is quite solid. There's no speed editing, there's no quick cuts, there's no overuse of shaky cam here, which I was kind of worried about. And the writing by Guy Ritchie and John August isn't that bad either. But the biggest praise I do have with Aladdin 2019 is that this isn't a complete shot-for-shot remake, unlike Psycho 1998, Mean Girls 2, even though that's a sequel, and The Amazing Spider-Man. And the fact that they actually tried to do enough stuff to make it different, I do appreciate it. So basically, that's all the positives what keep this movie afloat for me. The music, design work, most of the effects, cinematography, performances, and direction. The whatever stuff in between. There are some moments where the musical numbers can be a little off at times, but that was easily enough to get past. And there are some CGI effects that could be a little weird at times, but that's pretty much it. And also, the Cave of Wonders could look pretty weird at times. At times, it looked pretty good, but there are moments where it's just like, okay, you could have done a little better. Now, I'm not going to spend this video praising Aladdin because there are some negatives I do have with this movie, and I'm going to get into those. The biggest issue that I have with Aladdin 2019 is the villain and the way Jafar is portrayed. Like, I get what the filmmakers were going for, but when you think of Jafar, he is one of the best Disney villains ever. And he's one of the best movie villains I've ever seen. He's menacing, he's manipulative, he's evil, he's frightening, he's pretty much intimidating to watch in the original Aladdin. And Jonathan Freeman did a great job in that part. This version of Jafar here is so over the top, so ridiculous, he screams way too much that it makes him very laughable and hilarious, and not as intimidating as he should be. Like I said, I get what the filmmakers wanted to do, but this Jafar is just not a very good interpretation of the character at all. And the actor who plays Jafar, Malan Kazari, he does fine for what is required of him, but he just comes off as that villain who just scratches his mustache, screaming a lot to get what he wants. And it all comes down to the way he is written and how he is portrayed. And a lot of people who has watched this live action version has hated this interpretation of Jafar. And I honestly can't blame him. He's just so over the top that it makes Jim Carrey's Riddler look better by comparison. And in fact, Riddler is a better villain than this version of Jafar. Because with this new version of Jafar, I didn't like this version of Jafar from the trailers, and I don't like him here. Also, another problem is the way Iago is used. I don't like the way Iago the bird is portrayed either. And the sad part is, is that Iago was very entertaining in the original version of Aladdin, and they don't do anything with him here, which Iago is not supposed to be a generic and bland bird. And Alan Tudyk is a great actor, and he does do fine in the role, but Iago is not very well portrayed, and some of the CGI is somewhat questionable and off-putting, especially when Genie is completely blue. It's a little weak and off-putting, and it could have been tweaked up a little bit. You do have a budget of almost $200 million, so you could fix that up a little bit. And while I do praise the musical numbers here, I feel like there are points where the musical numbers are very off-putting and a little bit not well handled. And the film is only 2 hours and 8 minutes. This movie is 2 hours and 8 minutes too long. It does have some parts from the original, but at times the film can be a very slow pace and feel a little choppy in a few areas. And the dialogue, while the dialogue is good, there are some lines in this movie that didn't need to be said here at all. Before I go into my final verdict, be sure to comment down below what you think of Aladdin. Be sure to follow my social media links to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Snapchat, Stardust. Be sure to follow my official website as well. And subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it, comment, and let's have a friendly discussion. We are going to agree to disagree on this movie, so let's just keep it positive and let's keep it on the low in the comments, okay? Let's not get ahead of ourselves and being overly nostalgic as some people. This live action remake of Aladdin, it isn't that bad as I was expecting. It is one of the better live action remakes from Disney. It is a lot better than Beauty and the Beast 2017, even though I still don't hate that movie. It's far from perfect. It wasn't very necessary, but there's a lot more good than bad from this movie. The acting, the musical design, the direction, and the changes and stuff they added in here, it works for the most part, except for what they did with Jafar and Iago, which could have either been improved, redone, or completely avoided. And it does suffer from some pacing issues, some wonky CGI at times, and some off-putting moments with the musical numbers, but it's decent enough to watch. The original Aladdin will always be the best, but this puts the direct-to-videos to shame. Sequel to shame. So I'm willing to give Aladdin another watch at some point, but not every day when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray or digital. What I'm trying to say is that this is a watchable film. Now, if you're a fan of the original Aladdin, you may like it, or you may hate it, but if you're overly nostalgic about the original, you will not like it. And even if you like or hate the live-action Disney remakes, your enjoyment depends on that alone. Whether you want or excited for it or not excited for it. And that's how I see it. So all in my rating system, I'm going to give Aladdin 2 grades. I'm going to give it a slight highly recommended and a wait for Netflix or Disney Plus. But for those people who will like this movie, I'll give it an Epictastic. But for those who are going to hate this movie and be overly nostalgic with it, it's going to be a skip it. So that was my take on Aladdin 2019. Now I want to hear in the comments down below what did you think of the film down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? I will see you guys in the next review. Be sure to follow my social media links in the description box down below. Be sure to come over to the channel and subscribe. And if you like more videos like this, be sure to stick around for the channel where I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, top 10s, trailer reactions, all that stuff. And you guys keep it cool and join the Epictastic.